Left my fiance after he started calling me mama, using my photo with his nephew as wallpaper, and urging unprotected sex. I've, 26F, always known I didn't want kids. From a young age, even when adults asked me how many kids I wanted, my answer was always none. I didn't even know what child-free meant, but I always was. As I got older, I realized what it was. I just didn't feel that unconditional love that's supposed to come with having children. Could I love a child? What if? I can't be a mother because I don't know what that kind of love feels like. That's how I've spent my whole life. Then I met my fiancé, 34M, 2 years ago. He was my first everything, and I finally experienced romantic love. But when it came to kids, I still knew I couldn't do it from the beginning. I told him that having kids was off the table. He said he was fine with that because he never really liked kids, so it wasn't a problem for him. 5 months ago, he proposed, and I said yes. We moved in together, and everything was perfect. We were planning our wedding slowly, no rush. That was until his sister had a baby 2 months ago. My fiancé instantly fell in love with his nephew and was there every step of the way. He bathed him, changed him, napped with him. It seemed normal, I guess, so I didn't mind. 3 weeks ago, we went to his sister's house for lunch. My fiancée was mowing her lawn when she asked me to watch the baby for a couple of minutes. I tried to refuse, but she looked so down that I agreed. I thought she would just put him in his stroller or something, but she plopped him into my arms and went upstairs. I panicked. I had never held such a small baby before, and I was terrified I might drop him. 5 minutes in, he started crying. At first, it was fine, but then he started screaming at the top of his lungs. How can such a tiny baby be so loud? I was almost in tears myself. I stood up as gently as I could and went outside where my fiancé was. I yelled at him to come grab the baby from me. He came over, took a picture of me holding the baby, and instead of taking him from me, he started giving me tips on how to calm him down. He pushed the baby closer to my chest and said, "He really suits you." I was on the verge of a panic attack, my hands trembling. I was even more scared to drop him. I yelled, "If you don't grab him, I'm putting him on the floor." He got angry, called me a bitch, and grabbed the baby. I couldn't handle it anymore, so I took an Uber home. He came home around midnight, showered, and went to sleep on the couch. The next morning, he was already gone when I woke up, and he didn't come home until 3 a.m. I told him we needed to talk, but he just said, "Tomorrow," and went back to the couch. The next day, when I came home from work, he was waiting for me. We sat down, and he apologized for how he reacted, saying he didn't know what got into him. I asked the question I already knew the answer to. Me, do you want to have kids now? Him, I don't know. I just love him so much, you know? Me, well, that's normal, isn't it? Him, I guess. But do you really feel that against having kids? You don't even have to get pregnant or give birth, we can adopt. Me, that's not the only reason, and you know that. You know how I feel about not knowing if I could love a kid unconditionally. Him, I know, but you learn to love me, right? You can love a child too. Listen, we don't have to agree on this now. We can get married first, and then revisit it. Please don't shut it down immediately. Then he started to cry and hugged me, so I dropped it. But deep down, I knew I couldn't be a mom. I know myself, and honestly, I felt betrayed by him. I thought I'd eventually start resenting him, but I hoped we could get past this. Then he started doing some strange things. He changed his wallpaper to the picture of me holding the baby, he started calling me mama. He wanted to start having unprotected sex, and he even began touching my belly when he thought I was asleep. But when he suggested I go to the doctor to see what's going on with it, I panicked. It felt like he was trying to get me pregnant, and abortion is still illegal in the country we're living in. So I left. I told him my mom fell in the shower and broke her leg, a lie, and I wanted to stay with her for a couple of days to make sure she was okay. He said that was fine, and I waited for him to go to work. Then I grabbed important documents, some clothes, sentimental things, my dog, and I left. I don't know if what I did was right. I'm starting to doubt myself. Maybe he just wanted me to be healthy. Maybe he was just cuddling me or liked that picture, but I can't shake the feeling that something was wrong. He hasn't realized that I left and never coming back. He just questioned why I took the dog, jokingly. I didn't tell anyone, I just told my mom I missed her. Maybe I should go back and pretend everything's okay, but something about him feels off now and just don't know anymore. Update 1. The first thing I did after my last post was get a blood pregnancy test. It was negative. That night, I also spoke to my mom. I wasn't comfortable sharing every single detail, so I left some things out, but she told me she supports me and that I can stay with her for as long as I need. I also talked to my sisters. They admitted they never liked the idea of me dating someone so much older, but they didn't want to push me because they know me. If they did, I'd probably get angry, distance myself, and become even more dependent on him. I apologized for overreacting at everything and assured them that they should never hesitate to tell me if something feels weird or wrong. I called my boss and gave him a more family-friendly version of the story. He was absolutely livid, not only with him but also with me for not telling him sooner. He's like my work dad and was the one who requested I join him. He said he didn't bring me to a foreign country without intending to take care of me. He promised to pull some strings to get me a position at the office in my country since my former position was already filled. He also told me that if I wanted to get my things back I could go back on a Saturday, and he would accompany me. After thinking about it, I decided to go back. It might seem silly, but I had spent a lot of money on K-pop photo cards, albums, mangas, and I didn't want to start my collection from scratch. So, I spent a couple of days with friends and visiting family, realizing how lonely and isolated I felt in a foreign country. Even though it's not that far from home, I knew I could never leave my family like that again. Even my dog seemed happier, spending every afternoon cuddling with my mom. I also visited my father's grave. I've always hated cemeteries and avoided them, but I needed him in that moment. I went alone, brought fresh flowers, cleaned a little, and just sat there talking to him. I told him none of this would have happened if he hadn't passed away. I cried like a lot, then laughed like a crazy person. I ended up staying for about 3 hours, but it felt so healing. I also went to my mom's gynecologist, and she said it was possible to get a tubal ligation, especially considering my health issues. She warned me it could take about 6 months, but I was okay with the wait, so we started the process. I felt so free after that appointment and just so much happier being home. I didn't even think about my ex until he messaged me asking about my mom. I told him she was doing better and that I'd be back on Saturday. I decided to talk to him face to face, since I was already going back to collect my things. On Friday afternoon, my sister lent me her car, and I drove back. It's almost a 12-hour drive, but with breaks, it took about 14 hours. I went straight to my boss's house, and when I arrived around 9 a.m., he asked me to have breakfast with him and his family. Afterward, he and his son came with me to my ex's house to help pack up my things. I even get some of my favorite plants. They made fun of my taste in music, and we finished in about an hour and a half. Afterward, I went to my ex's sister's house. I needed to know if the whole baby incident had been a setup. I knew she didn't work on Saturdays, so I went to her house. Luckily, she was home and invited me in. We sat in awkward silence for a moment until I asked her, "Me, did your brother ask you to make me hold the baby?" Her, "What? No, why? What even happened that day? When I went downstairs, you weren't there, and he said you got sick and had to leave." Me, "What did he tell you exactly?" Her, "He said you had a panic attack because of fertility issues, and holding the baby was triggering." I told him that didn't sound like you, but he said, "How are you supposed to know more about my fiance than I do?" Then he left. Me, "What the actual fuck?" Her, "Yeah, he even said you wanted to babysit and go to the park as a couple with the baby, but I told him he was crazy if he thought I'd let him use my baby like that. He got mad at me and didn't speak to me for a couple of days." Then I laughed and explained what actually happened. She was furious, so mad she started crying. She apologized for leaving me with the baby, and I apologized for saying I was going to put the baby on the floor, clarifying that I wasn't actually going to do that. She said she was genuinely considering going low contact with him because his behavior was creepy, and she feared he might do something to the baby. I decided to tell her I was leaving her brother, and she said she understood. We hugged, and she said she'd miss me. I went back to my boss's house to wait for my ex to get home. I told him to text me when he got off work. I was a nervous wreck. I almost threw up. My boss's wife made me chamomile tea and stayed by my side, rubbing my back. I honestly love that woman, the whole family, really. My boss and his son came with me to his apartment. One thing about my boss, he's a softie, but he's huge. He's 195 centimeters, 6 feet 3 inches, and about 130 kilograms, 286 pounds, and his son is basically a carbon copy of him, so I felt pretty safe. When my ex got home, he smiled at me, but then saw my boss and his son. He asked me what was going on. Me, "I'm breaking up with you. You're clearly going through a baby fever phase, and I don't want any part of that." Him, "What do you mean, breaking up? We can't break up. We love each other." Me, "No. You love the idea of me being pregnant with your child and that's not going to happen." He tried to hug me, but my boss grabbed his shoulder and said, "Why don't you sit here with me?" Him, "I can't lose you. I love you. You're my soulmate. I can't live without you. If you leave me, I'll die. I would rather never have kids than lose you. I'll even get a vasectomy, but please stay. What will our families think? You can't just break off the engagement like this." Me, "First of all, this isn't a telenovela, so calm down. Second, I never even told my family we were engaged, and I've already told them we broke up." Him, "What about the dog? You can't just take her." Me, "What dog? The dog I've had since I was 17? That's my dog, and she barely tolerates you. Trust me, she's much happier with my mom." He started sobbing, and tried to speak, but I couldn't understand him. My boss's son couldn't chose a worse moment to laugh and asked, "You really didn't tell your family?" Me, "I just never found the right moment, you know?" My ex calmed down a little and said he'd never let me go. He still loved me, blah, blah, blah. I felt a little threatened when he said something like, "I'll find you and make you fall in love with me again." I told him, "Good luck with that, but seriously, we're not in a telenovela. Enough with the drama." I gave him the ring back, and he threw it at me, though it didn't hit me. I said, "I hope you find someone who wants kids, but I also hope you get psychological help," and we left. I spent the night at my boss's house, and the next morning, I went back home. I spent the rest of Sunday sleeping because I had a bit of a fever. That's me, the girl who gets emotional fevers. I helped my mom with her business today, and my therapy session is on the 13th. Due to how things went in the office, I'll start again in March. They kind of fired me, to rehired me. Thank you so much for helping me see how crazy this whole situation was. I feel so happy and so light now. I forgot how much I love having my family around. I probably won't update again unless something crazy happens, but yeah, thank you people, especially women, of Reddit edit to clarify a couple of things. 1. Some people said and even messaged me to tell me I never loved my fiance and I'm a horrible cold person. I did love him and I think I still do. I had a whole script memorized to talk to him about his sister's baby, he wanting unprotected sex, why I ran away but I panicked and forgot everything and decided to just be blunt and direct too. I didn't take 2 men to make fun of him while I broke up with him, that's actually insane. They come with me because I didn't feel safe with my ex alone. 3. People saying I need therapy, I know I already made the appointment, it's on the 13th. 4. About the tube ligation, it's nothing confirmed yet but I'll try to get a bilateral salpingectomy. Someone here actually let me know what that was. I wanted a hysterectomy but that's basically impossible according to my doctor. Update 2. To pick up where we left off, things have been relatively peaceful in my personal life since I broke up with him, but things took a weird turn. A couple of days ago, I had my therapy session, and let me tell you, I didn't realize how much I needed to unpack. My therapist asked me some tough questions, ones I didn't even know I had answers to. She helped me realize that the guilt I was feeling about leaving him and even about the relationship as a whole wasn't my fault. I'm not a cold person for not wanting kids. It's just something I can't reconcile with, and it's okay to acknowledge that. Therapy was eye-opening and healing, and I'm thankful I went. But here's where it gets crazy. The first weird thing happened when I was out with my mom and sister at a local cafe. We were having a quiet lunch when I received a text. It was from a random number, but the message was very clear: I will always find you. No matter where you are, I will make you love me again. I just want our baby. It was from him. I don't know how he got my number, it wasn't the same one he had when we were together, but I knew it was him. I immediately blocked the number and felt a wave of panic wash over me. I hadn't expected him to reach out again so soon. But that wasn't the end of it. Later that day, my phone rang again. This time, it was an unknown number, but something told me not to answer. It went to voicemail. When I checked it, I heard his voice, broken, almost pleading. It was honestly terrifying. I miss you. I can't lose you. Please don't ignore me. You can't run away forever. I know we can fix this. That voicemail was followed by a flood of text messages, about 30 in an hour. I won't even share most of them because they're just too much. It was like he had become completely obsessed with the idea of having kids with me, and it was no longer about the love we once shared. It was like I was a tool for his desire to become a father. I knew I had to do something. So, I called my boss. He's been so amazing throughout this whole thing. I don't know how I'd have managed without him, to be honest. I asked if he could help me change my number, and he immediately put me in touch with his tech guy who works for a phone service provider. Within hours, I had a new number, and I felt a huge weight lift off me. It was scary to think that he was so determined to reach me. But the plot thickens. The next day, I received a package at my mom's house. I wasn't expecting anything, and when I opened it, I found something truly disturbing. It was a baby onesie with a small note inside that read, "This is for our future baby. Love, his name." My heart sank. I'm not sure how he got the address, but I didn't want to think about it. I threw the onesie away immediately, but that gesture hit me in a way that made everything feel so real, like he had crossed the line from desperate to dangerously obsessed. It didn't stop there. Yesterday, I went out for a walk to clear my head. My mom had offered to let me stay with her longer, but I needed some space to think. As I walked, I noticed a car parked a little further down the street. I didn't think much of it, but as I rounded the corner, I noticed it was slowly following me. I wasn't sure if I was just paranoid or if it was really happening. My heart started racing. The car followed me for about 10 minutes before it sped off, but I'm pretty sure it was him. I don't know how he's managing to track me down like this, but I'm terrified. This behavior is becoming dangerous, and I'm starting to realize that I need to take more serious precautions. I called my boss to let him know what happened, and he's now looking into getting security installed at my mom's house. Also, I've been in contact with a lawyer. I'm trying to figure out what legal steps I can take to protect myself, especially if this stalking continues. I'm not sure where this will lead, but I'm not going to sit idly by and let him manipulate or control me anymore. To make matters worse, I found out that he's been telling everyone his side of the story, twisting it to make him look like the victim. A couple of mutual friends reached out to me, asking why I left him in such a dramatic fashion. They claimed that he's so heartbroken and that I just left without any warning. I had to block them because, honestly, I don't need to justify myself to people who don't understand what I went through. If they can't see the problem, then they're not worth my time. But here's the thing, I'm not scared anymore. I'm angry. Angrier than I've ever been. How dare he try to control me like this? How dare he not respect my boundaries and my decisions? I don't owe him anything. I'm done with this narrative he's created. I'm done letting him think he can manipulate me into a future that I never wanted. I'm taking my life back, one step at a time, and I'm going to make sure he never crosses my path again. Update 3. So, after the whole "I'll find you" text and the creepy car incident, I started taking some serious security measures. My boss and his family helped me set up a few things around my mom's house to make sure we'd be safe. They installed cameras around the property and even gave me a personal alarm. I felt more secure, but still. The dread didn't go away. I couldn't shake the feeling that he was still out there, watching and waiting. Then, on Monday morning, I got a message from an unknown number again. At first, I didn't recognize the area code, but something about it felt too familiar. When I opened the text, I was stunned. It was an image, a picture of me taken from a distance while I was walking to my car a few days ago. The text attached read, "You can't hide from me forever." I froze. The picture wasn't clear, but it was unmistakably me, and it was taken recently. He had been following me, I just didn't notice it at the time. I immediately called my lawyer to figure out the next steps. At this point, this is no longer just a breakup, this is stalking. I've officially filed for a restraining order. My lawyer is working with me to present the evidence, including the texts, the photos, and the voicemail messages. They're advising me to stay vigilant, which is honestly exhausting. But, I'm not going to let him get away with this. He needs to understand that his behavior is unacceptable and illegal. But the drama didn't stop there. The next day, I went to the store to pick up some things for my mom. I had just parked and was walking toward the entrance when I noticed a figure standing in the distance. I tried to ignore it, thinking it was just someone passing by. But when I reached the door, I heard a voice behind me, almost a whisper, "You think you're safe, but you're not. I'll always find you. You can't escape me." I didn't turn around. I just walked straight inside, my heart pounding, and I texted my mom to tell her what happened. She asked me to come back home immediately. I was scared to even leave the store, but when I did, I didn't see anyone following me. It could have just been someone who happened to look like him, but the voice. It sounded so real, so familiar. I couldn't shake the feeling that he had been right behind me. At this point, I've been keeping track of my whereabouts very carefully. I'm either with my mom or my boss's family, and I've stopped going anywhere alone unless I really have to. I'm also avoiding social media a lot more these days, not posting anything that could give away my location or schedule. Here's where it gets even weirder though. Yesterday, I found something outside my mom's house, a letter. It was tucked into the door handle, and I only found it because my mom went out to check the mail. She called me right away, and when I opened it, my heart dropped. The letter wasn't long, but it was chilling. It started with a very creepy "I miss you," but then it went into something much more disturbing. "I know what you're doing. I'll wait for you to come back. You'll see how perfect our life together will be when you're ready for the baby we'll have. I'll be patient, but you won't escape me. I'll find a way to make this happen, no matter what it takes." I'm honestly terrified. I don't know if he's been watching me that closely, or if he's been getting help from people I don't even know, but the fact that this letter was left at my mom's house, a place he should have no access to, was a huge wake-up call for me. I'm working with my lawyer to get more security measures in place, and we're also making sure that if he continues to harass me like this, there will be legal consequences. We're planning on escalating the restraining order to include criminal charges, as this has now crossed the line from obsessive to dangerous. But, even as I'm dealing with this, I can't ignore the fact that my own emotions are still a mess. I hate the fact that he's manipulated me so much over the course of our relationship, and that I didn't realize how deep the manipulation ran until after I left. A part of me still feels guilty. Why does it feel like I'm the one in the wrong for wanting to live my life without fear, without this pressure to be something I'm not? I feel like I'm stuck between anger and guilt, and it's exhausting, but I can't go back. I know that. I'm not going to let him win by allowing him to keep me in this loop of manipulation. The last bit of news that has come to light is that his family is worried about him. They reached out to me last night, asking if I had any idea what was going on with him. Apparently, they're concerned about his mental health, but it's way too late for me to care about his issues. I'm not responsible for his well-being, and the truth is, I don't want to be involved anymore. It's hard to watch someone you once loved fall apart, but my safety is more important than his breakdowns. Update 4. I wasn't planning on posting again, but things have gotten even more intense, and I need to document everything that's happening. I've been dealing with the stalking and harassment for weeks now, and it's been one of the most exhausting experiences of my life. But I'm finally getting to a place where I can start processing all of this. Here's the rundown of the latest events. First, a quick update on the restraining order. It's been granted, and I've had it officially filed. My lawyer has been working with me to make sure it's ironclad, and it now includes a detailed list of his actions, including the creepy messages, photos, and the letter left at my mom's house. The judge was very clear about the seriousness of the situation, and they've granted an order that should protect me, at least legally. I just don't feel entirely safe, and I know the emotional toll of all of this is far from over. But here's the scary part. A few days ago, my ex showed up at my mom's house. I had just finished dinner with my mom when we heard the doorbell ring. It was around 9:30 p.m., so we weren't expecting anyone. I peeked through the window, and for a second, I thought I was hallucinating. It was him. Standing on the front porch, looking like he hadn't shaved in days. My heart sank. My mom had no idea who it was, so she opened the door, and when she saw him, her face went pale. He smiled at her like everything was normal. I immediately texted my lawyer and called the police. I couldn't believe he was that bold. That's stupid. I stayed hidden in the back room while my mom talked to him, but I could hear everything. He was trying to convince her that I was overreacting, that he was sorry for everything that happened, and that he just wanted to talk to me. He said he had changed and that he wanted to apologize. But here's the kicker, he said nothing about understanding why I left him, or why I don't want him near me. Instead, he kept going on about how we were meant to be together, and that if I just talked to him, everything would go back to normal. I'm honestly terrified that he believes his own delusion. At one point, my mom stepped back inside, looking shaken, and I could hear him literally pounding on the door like a crazy person, demanding that I come out and talk to him. This is when the police arrived. I've never felt such a rush of relief in my life. The officers were incredible, calm, professional, and they took control of the situation immediately. They asked him to leave, and when he wouldn't, they made it very clear that he was violating the restraining order. They threatened to arrest him, and that's when he finally left. They took down all the details and told me that this was now a criminal matter. I haven't heard from him since that night, and I'm praying that it stays that way. But what really blows my mind is that he actually had the audacity to send my mom a text the next day. It was a long message about how he was sorry for causing trouble but that he was only looking out for me. He said that if he had to go through hell to get me back, he would. The kicker? He ended it by saying, "I'll always love you, and I'll find a way to make us a family again." This guy genuinely believes that I'm going to change my mind. I have no idea what part of "I don't want kids" or "I don't want anything to do with you" he doesn't understand. But it's honestly baffling how delusional he's become. He even tried to reach out to my friends, telling them I was making a huge mistake, and that they needed to talk some sense into me. I'm furious, but at the same time, I'm just trying to take care of myself. I haven't had much of a social life lately. I don't go out alone anymore, and I've been mostly focusing on work, family, and making sure that I have a solid routine in place so I can feel safe again. I've also been talking a lot to my therapist, and I can't even describe how much that's been helping. I'm working through the guilt of leaving him, the confusion of everything he put me through, and just the emotional aftermath of this whole mess. I've had moments where I wonder if I'm being overly cautious, but I know deep down that I made the right decision by leaving him. I'm still processing what happened, everything from the emotional manipulation to the actual stalking, but I'm in a better place mentally. I'm starting to realize that while I don't know exactly how my future will unfold, I know for sure that I'm done letting someone control it for me.